Michelle, can you break? Can you need somebody else to hold that?
I'm okay.
You're good? Okay. All right. If anybody's joining us late in the room or on Facebook Live, our internet is down here in the building. So Michelle, I have using data, and which I paid for. It's fine. At $3,000 phone bill next month. So Michelle's graciously holding my phone as we do Facebook Live to all of you. Oh my goodness. Let me introduce myself, for those of you who may not know who I am. I am Reverend Michael Everett Davis. I am the spiritual leader here at Indianapolis. I'm ordained as an interfaith minister for One Spirit Interfaith Seminary, and I am on the path toward unity ordination. Yay! So that's going to happen. All right, and my introductions of myself will become much shorter, and I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, you can call me Michael. You can call me Jay. You don't have to call me Johnson. All right. So, gosh, it seems like we are living in a world where we are constantly being told what to believe, how to think, how to react, what to do. There's a whole bunch of us versus them going on out there. There's a whole lot of fun stuff. All right, electronic things happening here right now. So anyway, there's a whole bunch of us versus them going on. And I've been thinking about it, and I don't know that it is much different now than it was 2,000 plus years ago. You see, 2,000 plus years ago, when Jesus, the Sermon on the Mount, which is mentioned in the Daily Word, thank you, Todd, where Jesus went up the mountain and did the Sermon on the Mount. And he said these words, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God." I've been sitting with this week, wondering how this could relate to us now in 2026. And I read an article online on unity.org, and it was not really an article, it was a commentary by a person named Rev Ed, not this one. So a different one. But he was talking about the authors of this book, The Five Gospels, where they were, it was a series of people gathered together doing, looking at translations and digging in deep into the five Gospels. And one of the things that when they were looking at the Beatitudes and the word blessed or blessed, suggests that we hear that word as congratulations. So suggesting that blessed, which often can be I will be blessed. So instead of being a will happen for a future reward, this is a recognition of something that is already happening within. So this changes how we see these words in the Beatitudes. They're not really conditions for blessing. They're attitudes that reveal the divine is already present. Already present. It's already present in you. Yes. You. If you don't think I'm talking to you, yes, you. The divine presence is present in each and every one of us. And I know we feel flawed sometimes. I do, that's for sure. Often I feel flawed. Well, we all fall short. But then again, we get back up. And then we may fall short again. And we get back up. We keep going. But it's easier. Well, What if falling short isn't the problem? The actual problem is how we perceive ourselves when we fall. You know, every time my halo is here today right now, every time it slips, I can beat myself up for that so many times. It's like, I should have known better. I shouldn't have done that. I'm not a good, strong spiritual person when these happen. We can beat ourselves up time and time and time again for that. Because it's easy to believe in a loving God, right? Everybody believe there's a loving God? We believe that? Yes. It's harder to believe that that same love is present and active in us. Especially on those days when we don't feel worthy of it. When the world tells us that we aren't. We'll get to more of that in a little bit. The song that we just sang, Be the Attitude, it was written by a dear friend of mine that I've known since 2012 at community music conferences. Reverend Blair Tabor, married great Eastern parents. So, it's a small world. But he wrote the song and it was inspired from this verse in Philippians 2:5. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Jesus Christ. So a little bit more of that. I'm going to read Philippians 2:5-8. This just happens to be the King James Version. Okay? Whichever version you like to read is the version you can read. Have this mind in you, which was also in Jesus Christ, who, being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in fashion as man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death. So even Jesus was like, hey, I'm divine. It's okay to say that. And I'm not stealing anything from God. I'm stealing anything from God. God is so God and all-powerful. But I can also be good and divine. So what does this mean to let this mind be in you, which was also in Jesus Christ? Anybody have an answer? No? Okay. I think, this is what I think. I think that we're talking about Christ consciousness. And I talk about Christ consciousness a lot up here. Whenever I'm up here, probably every Sunday that I'm up here, I talk about Christ consciousness. And developing that, and recognizing that. So what is that? In unity, Christ consciousness is the awareness of our oneness with the divine. So it's our awareness of our oneness. It's not something that we earn by being good. I follow all the rules. And I've earned to be part of God. No, it is what is already a part of us. It's something that we awaken to. It's something we're born with. So let this mind be in you. Allow yourself to open up to the wonder of your own divinity. I know it's hard to do. And every Sunday, at the end of service, we do the prayer of protection. And we get to the end, and I say, wherever we are, God is, and your response is, we are divine. Right? We are divine. And it sounds about like that. It's hard to say those words. It is hard to say that. To say, I am divine, we are divine. It's easier to say you're divine than it is to say I am divine. I've lost my spot. But you see, a sunset. But it's harder to see God in a world that feels divided, that feels violent and uncertain. But you see, in nature is in harmony with the divine. The flowers, the trees, even the cottonwoods flying down, the squirrels, they're all in line with the divine, doing what they do so well, which is just be. Sunsets don't worry about how pretty they are. They just are. Squirrels don't try to be funny. They just are. I think sometimes they aspire to be mean, but especially if you get away. But as humans, we want to say, we want to be for life to be easy, right? We want it to be easy. We don't like conflict. At least I don't. I avoid it if possible. And yet, we get caught up in the chaos of the outer world. We do so by, as I'm telling myself, by doom scrolling on the phone, flipping through. Oh my gosh, comments. 3 hours later, or constantly watching the news, getting caught up in conspiracy theories. So why do we caught up in all this chaos? So I have a question. This is a legit question. How many of you have ever felt othered? Othered. Have you felt like you've been othered? Like you've been called one of those people? Or perhaps you've been called woke as a negative sense. Or gay as a negative thing. Or been told that you're going to hell for what you believe and who you are. This is what I call noise. It's fear manifesting as hate. It's fear disguised as religion. When we clear away the noise of fear, the noise of unworthiness, the noise of separation, we begin to see beyond the distortions that shape our view of the world. And I think this is what Jesus is pointing to in the gospel, Matthew 5:8. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. So, in the Beatitudes, Jesus is not necessarily talking about groups of people, the pure of heart, the poor of spirit, the meek. He's talking about states of mind. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. And going back to that translation of taking blessed and saying congratulations to those who have cleared away fear, unworthiness, and separation. You're discovering that God was never absent, only unseen. With pure of heart, you cleared out the noise. Congratulations. So unity principle number 2. We are made in the likeness of the divine, and therefore our essence is divine. Divine is already present within us. And this isn't something that's unique with mystic Christianity or unique with unity. In the mystical tradition, Jewish tradition of Kabbalah, or Kabbalah, there's a belief that sparks of the divine exist within everything. All of creation. Even when it's hidden and you can't see it. So our spiritual journey isn't necessarily about becoming divine. It's about recognizing and revealing what is already there. I have a note to myself. 2 asterisks. Big, wide brush here. Double asterisks. So, often, speaking up here, we speak very broadly. So this is very, very broad. Looking at the time of Jesus, religion had in some ways become more about rules and power than about living the presence of God within. And Jesus came to turn that inside out. Not by giving everybody something new to believe, but letting them know and reminding them of what was already true. He said, I'm not here to change the laws, but to complete. It sounds familiar, though, right? Feels like what we're living through right now. But maybe what Jesus was doing was deconstructing. He was deconstructing anything that stood between people and the divine within. Not tearing it down for the sake of getting rid of it, but revealing what has always been true. Through the religious laws that are being used to control and saying, hey, it's not about that, it's about this which is inside. So I was wondering, what would Jesus' attitude be right now? So when Jesus was speaking the Beatitudes and teaching, preaching to, he was speaking to the people who were being pushed down. Right? The poor of spirit. They've been beat down until they feel like they have nothing. So, who would the modern Pharisees be attacking? Everyone. Those that are agreement, right? So I've chose 3. One are those that have left the church. Those that are deconstructing from the faith systems that they grew up in, that was teaching them that they are less than, and that they're sinners. And the LGBTQIA plus folks, and strangers, immigrants, the marginalized. So what would he say? Congratulations. Those who deconstruct from the church, where they will encounter truth beyond fear. Congratulations to the LGBTQIA plus folks, for they reveal the boundless love of God. Congratulations to the stranger, for they will find a home in the kingdom of God. beginning of the Sermon on the Mount, it says that Jesus saw the crowd and went up the mountain and took the 12 disciples. We have seen images of the Sermon on the Mount. There's famous paintings of the Sermon on the Mount. You can probably picture them right now, where there's this multitude of people and Jesus is sitting on a rock teaching. That's not what it says. He saw the crowd, and he went up the mountain and took the disciples with him. The crowd's still there. He's up the mountain with the 12 disciples. When we look at this through a metaphysical lens, the crowd, it's that noise I was talking about. Right? It's that noise of unworthiness, of lack, of you are less than, us versus them. That is the crowd. And Jesus is leaving that behind, going up to a higher consciousness, a higher state. And taking the 12 disciples, which would be our 12 spiritual attributes, or the 12 powers, with him. So in this case, going up the mountain and taking all of the faculties and then affirming that we are blessed. Congratulations. The kingdom of God is here. It is within you. Congratulations. You are an expression of the divine. Congratulations. You are rich beyond measure. Congratulations. And being completely aligned with God, completely aligned with